I'm a big time hater. I'm a hater. I'm a Scrooge McDuck. I'm a complainer. I'm a yapper. These are the things I do on a daily basis, and it probably pisses off many people in my life. But they gotta hold that shit because it's just who I am. Yeah, we're listening to Sonic X Shadow Generations music. That's fine because I love Shadow the Hedgehog. I also love my Lenovo Legion Go. But because I like things, I'm not afraid to talk about the negatives of them. I'm sure this device got its ass beat enough, but there's goods to it. I think that the massive screen, before I even turn it on, I think the massive screen is a plus. I think the fact that it has a touchpad over other x86 handhelds that are not the Steam Deck is a plus. The fact that it's carried in big box retailers like Micro Center and Best Buy, another plus. I really like the mouse mode or the FPS mode, the detachable controllers, and the kickstand. All of the hardware on this thing is beast. Right? If it had 24 gigs of RAM instead of 16, would have been better. But it had the fastest RAM at the time at 7,500 megatransfers per second. So that's really good. I'm happy about all of that. But I think the software experience leaves a lot to be desired, and that's my least favorite thing about the Lenovo Legion Go. I'm going to turn it on, and then we'll log into it and talk about the things that I dislike about the Lenovo Legion Go and why. What I've done also to kind of mitigate them, or what I could continue to do to mitigate them, if applicable. I still haven't made it so that I can log in without a password like I did on my computer. I'll figure that out at some point. I'm gonna do it. I gotta plug it up to a keyboard and mouse. I'm kind of lazy. Oh, I have a mouse on it. Yeah, see, that's why the mouse mode is very useful. And then I have a Bluetooth keyboard in my backpack, so I always have a way to use this if I need to, which is good. But let me show you guys something. So I have it on the main screen here. This is my main screen. It looks really good. I like green, so it's set to green. But when I hit this button to start up Legion Space, you saw another front end, and there's good reason for that. That front end already loaded. Wow, look how long it takes for Legion Space to load. That's a little bit of time. Now, I'm not upset about it putting me in the store. Okay, yes, I am. A little bit. But why is it that an aggregate launcher doesn't give me any box art? Why doesn't it scrape the metadata from Steam? These are almost all from Steam and Epic Games. They're from very easy to find platforms that have metadata. And the only one thing that does have metadata is Fortnite. And if you can't tell, Fortnite's metadata is wrong because it's actually showing Fall Guys right there, which is really funny but super obnoxious. The software is good when it comes to getting into it and messing with the display, the audio, the performance, all of that stuff, and the controllers. But a lot of these things can also just be done, if you want, instead from the quick access menu, which I already pressed the button. I pressed the button a while ago, and it's still not open, so we'll press it again. I pressed the quick access button twice now. It finally showed up. It takes a little bit. It's a little laggy. I don't know if I'm just that's what I'm looking for here. If I'm just spoiled by AYN's software, the AYN Loki Command Center was actually really snappy, but and lightweight. It was lightweight, it was snappy, and it only had very simple controls. There's not as much in the Loki control center as there is in Legion Space and the Legion quick access menu. But because of that, it loaded extremely fast. I'd hit the button, it was open. It would start up as soon as my computer started up, or handheld, whatever you want to call it. And it made for a quick and seamless experience that gets Windows out of your way. Legion Space gets Windows out of your way, but to a fault, because the way it gets Windows out of your way is the main Legion Space just makes you want to download a different front end, which is not good. But that's exactly what I did. I've actually mitigated one of the problems of Legion Space by just swapping front ends. All I did was install Playknight. I installed Playknight just like I had on my old handheld, and look at that. Playknight, which is an open source software that people can develop for, and is free, has all my box art, and opens the launchers that it's in, and minimizes itself to system tray once you boot up the game. Once you exit the game, it reopens Playknight on its own. It's all the things that Legion Space does, but significantly better, and was probably developed by a group of goons rather than a multi-million dollar company. Lenovo is one of the biggest OEMs on the planet, and they couldn't develop a good front end. And I hope the front end for the next Legion devices is better, and then we get good, meaningful updates to Legion Space when we get the Lenovo Legion Go 2 and the Go S's start really rolling out. But right now, Legion Space is the worst thing about this device. I like all of the extra buttons, right? For a while, I had some of them set to the Windows buttons and left and right mouse click. And of course, I have the touchpad or the trackpad, which is really cool. And it leads to, when Windows is in your way, you can still do a lot of navigation of Windows with this really big touchscreen, the on-screen keyboard, and left and right mouse click, and like a Windows button or like an Alt F4 button if you need it off to the side, which is good. And I didn't find myself pressing these extra buttons, them getting in my way as other reviewers and other users have, which is good. But maybe I just have a light touch and I don't grip onto devices as if I drop it, it's the end of the world. Like if I drop it, it's my fucking fault, right? But I like a light hand because I like to actually be able to maneuver my hands when necessary to play the video games, which is kind of important. But like I said, this is a really cool device. I love the Legion Go's hardware and I love its features, but its software is my biggest gripe, and it's really the only thing I can complain about. Right? Some people have a complaint about like it being 16 by 10, 1600p, which is pretty big, but you can just like turn that down. It also makes for perfect integer scaling if you're one of those nerds who wants to use it to Steam Deck resolution, which is good, right? Because if a game runs on Steam Deck, it'll run on this, and you'll get better performance because you're using integer scaling, and you have a vastly more powerful chipset, right? The Z1 Extreme is significantly stronger than the Van Gogh. Just how it works. Sorry. I can't stand the idea that such a good device is held back by its own software. Now, there are workarounds. This is a PC, which is good. You have multiple workarounds. You could get a second drive or use the main drive and install Bazite or Chimera OS or Hollow ISO. I would recommend Bazite. I have Chimera OS on a different handheld. Or you could download Handheld Companion and set it to a macro and only open Legion Quick Access, or just use the Handheld Companion as a replacement for the entire Legion Space software. But then you have two dead buttons, which is unfortunate. I guess another issue is some people say that having these two buttons up at the top, oops, my bad, let me move it back some more. Having these two buttons at the top for the Legion stuff instead of start and select kind of sucks. I've already gotten used to it. I didn't change them. I didn't move them down here like some people did. Some people move them down here and use these as the Legion buttons and then start and select up at the top. I don't. I have start and select on the left True Strike controller still, and the Legion Space buttons are where they were on launch and on startup. I don't move them. Another thing that people complain about that I don't, because I guess I want to mention all the complaints, is these corners. They say these corners really dig into their palm and it super hurts and it leads to an unergonomic experience. I play this thing in bed a lot. I play this thing at work a lot. I play it sitting on the couch, lounging around, and even after like an hour of play, which is the most I usually get with a device like this, an hour of play, an hour and a half of play, plugged in or unplugged, because I'm an adult. I don't have like 5-6 hours to sit around and play on this thing, unfortunately. It doesn't feel too bad in the hands. It feels good. And I guess maybe my hands are big enough that my hands actually rest in my palm, rejects that curve. That curve or that angle actually sits inside of the palm of my hand, where it's probably meant to. But unfortunately, not everyone has as big as hands as me, so it wasn't designed for everyone, right? A design for everyone is better than a design for those only with large hands, even though, like, this is a big-handed person device. I don't actually see that as an issue, because this is a big device, probably for big people. Right? I don't think little people. Just go get yourself a Switch Lite, little man. All right, don't touch this for the big boys. Lastly, another thing that others complained about. I do have one hardware gripe, and I'll say it here in a second. Now that I think about it, the last thing that others have complained about that I don't is wobbly controllers. They say that after using the mechanism a lot, after using the detachableness, which it detaches and then it turns back on, waiting for it to go green. I guess it won't go green because I don't have both off. Hold on. This one will turn green in a second because this one's already green. It should be green. There it goes. Yeah. So the detachable controllers, people complain about how they're when you take them off the rail a lot, which I do, and put them back on. After a while, this device starts to feel really wobbly. I will say my left one does feel looser than the right, but not wobbly, not creaky, just a little. What's the word I'm looking for here? A little less tight, right? Like I can feel if I really wanted to, I can kind of wiggle it a little bit. I can just wiggle it. I don't think it'll show on camera, but it wiggles, but it doesn't feel not secure. I've heard reports of people saying that you can just, their left or right screen controller can just fall off if they pull hard enough. And I don't know if that was a dud unit or if I don't pull these things off as much as I think I do. I really like using this thing in tabletop mode, so I do take them off a lot, especially for how long I haven't had it very long. But that has not been an issue for me, thank goodness. My only real issue, my last major issues, is with the analog stick and thumbstick. And D-pad. The D-pad feels recessed. It feels too short for fighting games. Like it feels almost recessed in an impactful way, in a meaningful way. Like it hampers the experience instead of helping it, right? Maybe they were trying to keep the device more flat and they wanted like a really low profile device, but the buttons feel more raised than the D-pad does, which is not a good thing. That's really bad, and it makes for an awful experience when you're trying to play fighting games. Maybe if this was a disc style D-pad, having it this recessed wouldn't have been so bad because then you could get all of your diagonals, but they went with a traditional cross style D-pad, which probably isn't an issue when it comes to using it for shooting game, like modern shooting games and modern adventure games where you're just swapping over a weapon or opening your map or menus and stuff like that. But if you're doing anything where you're actually trying to use it for fast inputs or precise inputs or precision platformers / fighting games, it can kind of be an issue. And that's an issue for me, but that's not an issue that I've really heard brought up about this device, which is weird because these devices like this are perfect for like big screen gaming of things like Celeste or Towerfall Ascension or Hollow Knight and what's the other one? That really cool one that just came out, Nine Souls. Games like that. That'd be awesome, but the D-pad really hampers that experience, and it sucks. That is the second to last thing. The last thing is these thumbsticks. As you see, I have grinding on my thumbstick. Now, they come off. You can just pull it off. And as you see, the grinding is not on the actual nub. It's on the thumbstick cap. But that grinding on the thumbstick cap leaves residue. I wish I could show you guys. But it leaves a residue all over the rim, the RGB ring of the stick. The gate, as it were. And it does it on both sticks. For a while, I thought it was just the left stick. It's the left stick more frequently, but the right also does it as well. I don't see any. See, as you see, my left stick is my right stick also has the grinding on it. You can see that, but there's no like messed up parts on the. Oh, I accidentally launched a game. There's no messed up parts. I wish it would focus. Yeah, I'm sure you can see that line on the actual gate on the RGB ring. The RGB ring is actually safe, surprisingly. It's just grinding somehow, but not leaving any real residue. It does have like the dust on the joystick, but not on the ring. And that makes for an experience where you're going to have to replace these thumbstick caps way more frequently than necessary. And they don't make replacement thumbstick caps. You have to buy them third party. You have to buy them off things like Etsy or Amazon from third-party manufacturers, not from Lenovo themselves. Not having replaceable parts on a device with moving parts is, to me, a big no-no. Right? The Nintendo Switch, you can buy replacement Joy-Cons because Joy-Con drift exists. If joystick grinding exists on this device, if this is not a one-off, if this is not just me, maybe I got a bad unit with bad True Strike controller. But if this is not a bad unit and you can get joystick grinding, you should probably have replaceable joysticks, right? You should probably have replacement parts, either full True Strike controllers, which we know is going to be sold with the Legion 2 separately, which is good. You can just change them out. But the Legion Go 1 should also have at least replacement joysticks to kind of subdue a lot of the worries of joystick grinding. Eventually, you'll grind away enough at your thumbstick ring that it won't grind anymore. It'll smooth out. But while that's happening, you are absolutely destroying the thumbsticks that are currently on it, the thumbstick caps at least, that are currently on your device. And there's nothing you can do to replace them outside of going to a third-party manufacturer. I think first-party manufacturers for replacement parts are a must. Or some sort of a contract with third-party manufacturers so that they're not specific. They're more like OEM, and it's very easy to get a hold of. The same way the Steam Deck does with iFixit. How iFixit makes all the replacement parts and they have a contract with them. I think that's great. I hope Lenovo does something like that as well. This device has already been out over a year, so I think if they were going to do something like that, they would have. So it's a real bummer for those of us who bought the device late and could have probably instead looked at getting something that does have replaceable parts. Now, do I think it's going to hinder me? No, I'll just buy the Legion 2 True Strike controllers when that comes out later in the year. And it doesn't seem like they're actually messing them up at all since they are Hall effect, but it's just like a visual thing and potentially a problem that could arise if you use it all the time, 24/7, and grind away at your thumbstick cap. Those are my issues. Those are my gripes with the Lenovo Legion Go. Also, some that I've heard from the community. This is a great piece of hardware for the most part. It's probably, I think, the most well-rounded and jack-of-all-trades gaming handheld PC. But in it being a jack-of-all-trades, it's a master of none. It doesn't have the best ergonomics. It doesn't have the best software. It doesn't have the best screen. And it doesn't have the best features. But it has a lot of everything outside of software. I think the software experience is fucking awful. I think that there's one major takeaway from this device. It's that the software experience is dog shit and that it is holding back the device from being like potentially the best, even though it's a jack of all trades, master of none. If it was a jack of all trades, master of one, like had the best software, you would just de facto pick up this device because it has everything that other devices either don't have or only have some of, like a trackpad instead of two trackpads, a kickstand instead of no kickstand, Hall effect thumbsticks instead of no Hall effect thumbsticks, right? A lot of these things are good features, but it's not enough to make it the top market leader because it's missing a good software experience. That's me yapping and ranting about the Lenovo Legion Go's problems. For me, maybe you have different problems. Maybe these problems aren't problems at all, and Legion Space works perfectly for you. Maybe you don't care about the lack of box arts and metadata scraping. Maybe I got a dud unit and my thumbsticks grind, but yours don't. That's awesome. I'm happy for you. I should probably contact the Lenovo at that point then. Leave your comments about the Lenovo Legion Go down in the comment section down below. Like the video, subscribe to the channel. Tell me about some issues you have with your Lenovo Legion Go. Why you never picked one up. Were some of these issues for you? Did you pick up a different device over this because of some of the things I stated, or different things? Leave them in the comment section down below. Like the video, subscribe to the channel. This has been Beanie Thuggish, ranting about my favorite gaming handheld PC, signing out and saying peace.